The Russian Revolution by Elijah Verdine, Michael Cook, Braylon Robinson, and Kyle Dean. Russia, when and where the Russian Revolution was that took place at. The Russian Revolution Accord was on March 8th, 1917, vote through June 16th, 1923. It took place in Petrograd, Russia. Before the Russian Revolution, mostly everyone in the population of Russia was serfs, which means they were owned by the landlords and most likely was forced to work on farming and other ways. The Tsar was the ruler of Russia and he could do whatever he wanted. He even exported thousands of food to inner Europe while causing a massive famine, which caused many people to die. The Tsar at the time was Tsar Alexander II, and he was giving to the serf freedom but a debt to pay off for 49 years. The state of time. While Europe was fastly advancing its industry, if you were to travel to Russia at the time, it would seem like you traveled back in time. It had no trains, no new ways to rule government, and no massive industry plots. It was just dirt and cities. The Tsar was recently in a terrorist attack with a bomb being thrown in his chariot, soon after releasing the serfs and barely changing their lives. Alexander III. Alexander III was the Tsar who came after Alexander II and had a son, who became the next Tsar. His name was Nicholas, and his father called him a girly girl all the time. Nicholas needed to be taught how to rule Russia, but Alexander had different plans and sent him to Japan, where he went to get an edgy tattoo, a piece of his head sliced off by a policeman, and came back to be home to the time. But the Tsar got kidney inflammation and couldn't go on to teach him. Elijah, please talk. Kodnika tragedy. The contemporaries estimated that a celebration up to 400,000 guests, practically one in two residents every day in Moscow, had decided to visit this public party. Vladimir Devonsky, an aide-de-camp of Sergei Alexandrovich, remembered the whole field was thickly covered in people. All of them had crowded 1 kilometer to race to the second of the Khosrow Kodnika track field. This caused a disaster where many people were trampled over. Elijah, please talk. Braylon, please talk. Nicholas modernization. Nicholas did not support modernization in Russia, but as Sergei loved modernization, the Tsar left him to do his thing, and many factories were built, but the working conditions were horrible and many people got hurt, which caused them to go on strike. So what better way to make the people happy was to declare war on Japan. War against Japan. Basically, Russia lost, and all because of they thought they could push Japan around, and Japan was rapidly militarizing at the time and shocked the Russian people by losing their fort. The aftermath was led to Japan controlling Korea and Port Arthur, which was attacked and humiliated the Tsar internationally. Elijah, please go. Elijah, please go. Braylon, please go. Tsar's new top man. Tsar had a new top man, and his name was Pyotr Stolypin. And his ideas to prevent more chaos, such as Step 1, reform agriculture. Step 2, kill anybody who doesn't like the Tsar. Step 3, everyone loves the Tsar. Thousands were sent to the Stolypin necktie, which was the public hanging for people. Lenin's new problem. Despite depression, many positive reforms were also being made, and the Russian economy began to improve. This was the problem with Lenin, because if people weren't suffering, there wouldn't be a support of revolution, which wouldn't be communism. Lenin was still in exile, and Europe and met a man named Joseph Stalin, and he met him at a communist convention in Finland. Lenin liked Stalin because he was a real go-getter. Stalin fundraised by the communist convention. When I mean fundraised, I mean kidnapping, robbing, extorting, bribing, ransoming, assassinating, prisons breaking, stealing, bank robbing, executioning, and stealing again. Elijah, please go. Aftermath. Rasputin was killed after being shot and poisoned, and Russia lost the war. The war left Russia broke, hungry, and exhausted. Nicholas was getting even more of the blame. For the second time, Russia was on the brink of revolution. For 3 years, this was fighting a war, with no supplies, and people lost hope more than ever. International Women's Day, 1917. Thousands of hungry women in Petrograd were so sick of being hungry that they took to the streets, and it turns out not only women who experienced hunger, but men too. The crowds demanded that war was ended, and food rationing was ended, so people could have more food to eat, and even an end to the Tsar's autocracy. The troops would normally deal with this kind of stuff, but it turns out soldiers could starve as well. They were also tired of going their fellow Russians so much that the entire regiments mutiny on the capital. Chaos in the streets. The people believed the only way to bring back stability was for the Tsar to abdicate. The police fired on soldiers fired on police, workers recreated the Petrograd Soviets, politicians began arresting the Tsar's ministers, and that's when the Tsar stepped down from power and fled Russia. Without a Tsar, Russia knew today was forming Lenin and had Petrograd the idea of communists. The secret police was abolished, definitely was removed, and even planned to hold elections. Peace, land, bread was the new slogan for the Communist Party. General Elijah, please go. Michael, please go.